Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ohio VolleyTalk podcast. I'm Nicholas Glenn here with Tyler Bush, and today we are joined by St. Charles head coach, Coach Ned Gruber.
All right,
So,
Coach.
Coach, sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
First question we had for you. You guys had a harder start to the season, but I mean, since your loss to McNick, you guys have just been on a tear. What do you feel like clicked during that time period to really allow you to set yourselves up so well?
Well, yeah, we had a spring break around when we lost a few of those games to Old Tangy Liberty, Dublin Jerome. So we got some guys back after that. We weren't missing everybody, just like one or two guys on each of those games. Um, and then we played McNicholas at the CCL Challenge. We played well. We were up 2-0. They're a good team, and they just kind of stormed back. And to me, that was a really good learning experience for our guys of, hey, it's a lot easier to close out in three and get it done with than, if you let it go to five, it's anybody's game. So I think that was a really good learning experience. And then we got into our league play, playing against DeSales, Waterston, Hartley. Um, I think we've just gotten better in every position. I mean, really going into the season, we didn't know exactly what to expect. We worked hard. We worked hard in the off season passing. We got up early in the morning and we are passing small group work, and so that's helped us. But yeah, it's been kind of a wide open year in D2, and we've been getting a little bit better. And really, I think all through playoffs we can. There's always more to get better at. So I think we can hopefully keep getting better and peak at the right time.
Yeah, and speaking of the playoffs, obviously the bracket came out last week. Just what are your thoughts about your position and just like what you guys are looking to do in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, our first goal always is to win the league. We were able to do that. We were outright champs the last 2 years. We've run at least a share of the CCL, the Central Catholic League, here in Columbus for 9 years in a row. So that's always the first goal. And then the next goal is hopefully to win the region. But again, like I said, I think it's kind of wide open. There's a lot of parity in D2 this year. Um, we could lose in the regional semifinal. I mean, to be honest with you, we're going to try to obviously not to let that happen. But any given night, you never know. So we're not taking anything for granted. We're going to try to prepare for every opponent the right way, and let the chips fall where they may. But we're going to be trying to play our best volleyball here at the end of the season.
You talked about improving every game and continuing that into the playoffs. What do you feel like needs still improvement from the team to really get to your best version of yourselves?
Yeah, so we have a lot of new players in different positions. So, like we have an outside hitter who plays middle for club. So just getting him enough reps of playing outside to be serviceable enough at passing and attacking. I think transition is where we could get better. We're pretty good in system now and in reception. I think transition offense is where we could get better. We've gotten better in the last 2 weeks of just, I call it like playing volleyball. So learning how to send free balls and receive free balls and make them perfect and not just kind of good enough. So I think we've gotten better at like just general volleyball in the last couple of weeks. I think transition offense is kind of the next spot where we could continue to improve.
Yeah, and with transition volleyball, I mean that kind of creates kind of like a faster pace to the game. Is that like kind of your goal, just to kind of like outwork all these teams and just kind of use your pace to your advantage and just to kind of wear the other team down? Is that kind of what you're looking to do there?
Yeah, so I think our defense has gotten better. Again, the last couple of weeks, I think every guy's engaged. We're digging more balls. Now I just like to see our pin hitters and our middles get off the net a little bit more, turn and run in transition, and come back with a really good, good attack coming back rather than just I got one or two steps off the net and that's all I could do, and then I'm just kind of getting it over. So terminating those balls in transition is kind of what we're going to go for next.
And looking back, now that we're at the end of the regular season, looking back over the course of that regular season, do you guys feel like obviously you said you won the league outright, incredible achievement to do it twice in a row, especially in the CCL. Do you feel like you achieved all your goals for the regular season, and what were your biggest takeaways from it too?
To be honest, I'd like to go back and play some of those earlier season games again. Not that necessarily we win, but I feel like we could compete better than we did 2 months ago. But yeah, I mean, if you told me going in the season 18-4 as your final record, I would have said yes with what we had returning and some new guys and new spots. And you never know how everybody else is going to do. It's always kind of who knows how everybody else is going to improve throughout the season. So I'm happy with where we are. Things could have been a lot worse. I think things have gone for the most part in a good direction. But I'd love to play Jerome again. I think that would be a really good game. I'd love to play Liberty again. Again, not necessarily that we beat them, but I think we're playing a better brand of volleyball than we were.
Yeah, and you talk about adaptability, like a bunch of new guys filling in for positions, and like a bunch of guys playing different positions than they do at club. Just like how important is that to the success of your team? And like along with that, obviously we talk about this with every coach. Like how important are the seniors in the development of like kind of gaining that adaptability and being willing to play anywhere and succeeding in those spots.
Our program's a little unique because we have 5 teams. We don't cut anybody. So we have a freshman team, a JVB, a JVA, a varsity B, and then a varsity A team. And so guys get a lot of playing time. We have about 8 or 9 guys on each of those teams. So starting with their freshman year, guys get a lot of experience just playing volleyball. And we try not to specialize too early. So we let guys kind of do a little bit of everything. We don't say you're the one setter in the program. I hope you're good by the time you're a senior. We let several guys set, several guys play outside. Everybody's kind of doing all the skills when they're younger. And then there comes a point when we get to the varsity A level where we start uh, differentiating a little bit more, specializing a little bit more. But going into this season, I was saying to everybody, hey, keep an open mind. Let's try some things, see what sticks. I was telling our libero, hey, you might be playing outside this year. He didn't end up doing that, but I was just telling everybody, keep an open mind. We got a lot of tools. We just got to kind of see how everybody fits together. And I think we've made some good decisions, and it's all kind of coming together. We have 14 seniors in our program. Some guys are on varsity B, some guys are on varsity A, but it's a lot of experience. They've all been playing for a long time, and more guys than ever, I think, are playing club in our program too. So that really helps. The development that a guy has from like freshman year to sophomore year after he plays club is huge, and sophomore year to junior year is huge, because you kind of see that potential in them, and just that extra experience playing club in the off season. Because if you only play 3 months of volleyball for 4 years, you really only played a year of volleyball. So playing in the off season is very important, and I think a lot of our guys have taken that opportunity.
Looking at last year's bracket, you guys came in as the 1 seed as well before you fell to Mount Vernon in the regional final. But before that, you guys kind of walked through the competition. Do you feel like you had a big lesson from that Mount Vernon game that you can translate into this year's tournament?
I think every year is a little different, but we've learned. We had a really good team in 2018. We won the state championship, and we brought most guys back in 2019, and that was kind of our hardest season. We lost in the regional final to Watterson after we'd beaten them twice. So after that year, we've learned, don't overlook anybody. I think we weren't really overlooking them, but maybe some of the team was. Or hey, we were kind of looking ahead at who we got next and scouting and all that. And no, Mount Vernon's a very good team this year too. Again, like I said, I think there's a lot of parity in our region. Anybody on any given night can beat the other team, and if you have a bad night, watch out. And that's what happened to us in 2019, and that was a hard lesson to learn because we had a really good team that year and the year before. One of our assistant coaches this year was actually on that team too. So we've definitely learned that lesson of one game at a time. Anybody, especially this year, I think it's wide open in detail. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, kind of tracking back to what you said before about a lot of your players are playing club now, or a lot more of your players are playing club volleyball now, as opposed to in years past. Um, like I used to play club volleyball, and with my experience, club season really like kind of pushes like right into you don't really get much of a rest between club and school season. Do you think that kind of transition maybe had something to do with that slow start just because of the fatigue and just the amount of volleyball being played?
we do have a really short preseason for boys volleyball in Ohio. It's like 3 weeks, and you're playing a game. I mean, we make teams the first week, and we're scrimmaging like on Tuesday of the second week of the season. So it is a really quick turnaround. Basketball season also overlaps a lot now. So we had guys playing basketball in regular season games when we were already starting our practices and scrimmages. So yeah, it definitely took a little time for everybody to come together, but also I think just guys in different positions and how are we all going to fit together. We didn't have our setter because he was playing basketball for a week and a half with the St. Charles team. So that kind of maybe we worked more on out of system stuff than in system stuff because he wasn't back yet. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we opened well against New Albany. I think they were missing a guy or two too. I think they were missing a setter. So we played pretty well that game, and then we played St. Ed's that opening weekend. I think we learned a lot. They were just way better at volleyball than we were. They were digging everything, and we just could not terminate. And they handled us really well that first weekend. So I think once you kind of see the whites of their eyes, once you play some good competition, and that spring break week too was a big wake up call of hey, what we've been trying to do maybe is not working, and we got to put this guy here and that guy there, and that's it. So I think, yeah, just playing together more. It's such a short preseason that those first few games are kind of like extended scrimmages in a way of like we're kind of still trying some guys out in different spots and what's going to gel together.
Going into the playoffs, do you guys have like a motivating factor, a message for your team to kind of get them going, or is it your player reliant? Like these guys got to believe it themselves to get to that point.
We've been kind of waiting all year for somebody in D2 to like really step up and dominate, and it hasn't happened. So what we've been saying the last couple of weeks is, why not us? Why not us? Why not St. Charles? Why can't we be the team to do that? So yeah, we're gonna do everything we can. Why not? Why not us?
Yeah, and like also like we alluded to before that D2 is like kind of wide open and like it's really anyone's game. Just kind of looking at like kind of the rest of the bracket and like seeing who the possibilities could be if you guys get past the regional and get into the state final four. Like what's kind of your outlook on that? Just like anyone can really give you a good competition, can give you a good game, like really work hard for your win. Just like how do you look at that since there's so many teams that could do that?
Yeah, so I think our region 5 crossed over with I think region 8, which is that Cincinnati Dayton region. So obviously that could be Fenwick, that could be Loveland, it could be McNicholas. I mean, whoever's playing well down there. But yeah, I think just take it one game at a time. We're just trying to win our bracket first, and then we'll deal with that. You got a week. We play our regional final on a Saturday, and then we don't play that region or that state semi until Friday. And we kind of have a good idea of all the top teams. We've already played Fenwick. We've already played St. Vincent St. Mary. We've played Firestone. So we kind of have an idea of maybe who could be in that bracket. Loveland, we didn't get the chance to play yet. So I would have liked to have seen them, played them. But yeah, you never know who could win that. I mean, it could be a 3 or 4 seed, just depending on who's playing well.
All right, Nick, unless you had any more questions, I think that's all we had for you today, Coach. Thank you very much for joining us. Is there any other final message or shout outs you'd like to give before you go?
No, I just want to thank you guys for keeping the buzz going with Ohio boys volleyball. So thanks for all your work of keeping this podcast going.
Thank you, Coach. We're excited to see you play in the tournament.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, after talking to Coach, we're going to go over some of the games from the last week. Despite it being the last week of regular season play, there were still some pretty good, pretty interesting games. Then we're going to talk about the region brackets as they just dropped. Nick, what's one of the games that we were going to talk about today?
Yeah, so one that caught my eye was the LaSalle versus Baden. LaSalle swept Baden. Honestly, it feels like the first set was pretty close. LaSalle took it 25-23, but then they were kind of in control the next two sets. And this is a big win for LaSalle because they've been struggling a little bit. I think this is a big win for them.
Yeah, they did kind of go through a little bit of a mid-season slump there, where I was. I guess it was during that GCL in-conference stretch where it's hard to come by wins in there, but they really have stepped up to close out the season. They had a good start to the season, and in this game particularly, Lance Wiseman, 11 kills, Isaiah Walker 10. Lance, it's his first year attacking. He was the libero last few seasons for them, and he was great there, and now he's coming in. He's a main attacking threat. It's just pretty encouraging sign for them before the playoffs. Baden had some, trouble with this game, obviously, but like you said, it wasn't like it was super one-sided. The first and last set were pretty close. Baden shouldn't get super disheartened from this one. I think it'll be two teams definitely to watch in the playoffs, but another game that jumped out to us was still in some GCL co-ed involvement. Chaminade taking down Edgewood in five. Obviously, we love to talk about five-set matches here, but this one back and forth the whole time. It went Edgewood, then Chaminade, then Edgewood, and then Chaminade closed out. But Chaminade is really, getting into a great point in the season. I feel like they're kind of peaking right now, which is what you need to be doing. Edgewood, though, has been pretty solid the whole season, and when you look at the stats, there definitely was some stuff that jumped out on paper. Edgewood had two players with 21 kills, um, Jordan Boyd and Colby Duello, which is just ridiculous to have one player with 21 and then to have two. Edgewood's still in a pretty good spot, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, 21 kills from two different guys, like that's like you can't ask for much more. But like you said, with a Chaminade peaking, starting to peak right now, I mean, this is the perfect time. You want them to peak with the tournament starting up this week. And Edgewood, who has been a solid team all year, they've been in our rankings pretty consistently. And yeah, just to have like a kind of a big like statement win like that going into the tournament, that really gives Chaminade a lot of momentum. And even though, like you said, this was still a very good game for Edgewood, those two guys having 21 kills each, that's still very bright looking into the future, into the postseason for Edgewood.
Yeah, and I mean, Chaminade also, I mean, they're led by three juniors on the attack this game: Max Boston, Beckett Denamore, and Alex Fecht. 21 kills for Boston, 22 for Denimore, and then 10 for Fecht. So not just them peaking right now into this postseason, but I feel like next season, they're going to have even higher hopes than they did right now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like having those three juniors right there. I mean, just going into next season, that's going to be very, very important. Just returning guys, kind of like Ignatius this year. Like they didn't really lose a lot of guys. Like all their best players were juniors, and now look at them now. They're seniors. They're better. They're stronger. This could be Chaminade next season, just with getting that varsity experience and becoming really good now. It's the trajectory is only going up from here.
And moving a little more to D1, a pretty big upset because this game wasn't really close the entire way through when you look at the set-by-set scores. Beaver Creek swept Centerville. Centerville has been a pretty solid and consistent team, and so is Beaver Creek, but it felt like Beaver Creek was kind of looking for like one statement win to really put them on the map. They had losses to some other teams and like Thomas Worthington and Elder, but now they get this big Centerville win. They're coming in on a five-game win streak into the playoffs. Beaver Creek could, I think, make a little more noise than people expect.
Yeah, I mean, this game I obviously didn't really expect Beaver Creek to sweep Centerville, but these two teams both very solid. Like you said, Beaver Creek on a hot streak right now. Centerville been a very solid team, played some good teams all year. And like we always talk about, I feel like every week just a new team is getting these statement wins. And this statement win for Beaver Creek right now, this is just great. Like this, especially right before the tournament, just to get that kind of big win like that, just gives a lot of momentum to Beaver Creek.
Yeah, especially in such dominant fashion, but a way closer game still in D1, a little more in the Columbus area now. Hilliard Davidson taking down New Albany in five. New Albany got the two seed in Region 1. Davidson not in their region, so they won't see him for at least a little while, if at all. But just a nice, gritty win for Davidson before the playoffs, which is kind of what you need when you're fighting through the region that they're about to go through. Um, this one was close really the entire way through. No set was super far apart. New Albany kind of coming up on the short side. They had, I mean, ridiculous numbers from New Albany. Two players with 16 kills, Kyle Moore and Michael Botkin, and then Levi Starinsky had 22 kills. It feels like all the stats we've read off today are just outrageous. And it's kind of tough to put up numbers like that and come up on the losing side. But the good news is for New Albany that it might be a while before they see an opponent as tough as Davidson in their bracket. They're going to have some guys to get through, certainly, but nobody that tough, I would say, until they get to the final.
Yeah, I mean these stat lines are looking kind of like the Edgewood stat lines like we just alluded to before. But even though this was a loss for New Albany, I wouldn't really consider this a loss in my book. They took a very, very good Hilliard Davidson team to 5 sets. And again, like they're not going to be playing as good of competition in their region until the regional final. But I think just taking maybe what you could have done better in this game and maybe just like working on it in practice, working on it in the early games in the tournament, where you can maybe afford to make those mistakes. But so when you play Hilliard Davidson again or whoever better competition you play in the regional final or wherever, they can be ready to play.
Yeah, that definitely is a good matchup there. But two teams that kind of had different ends to the season, especially after they just played each other. Archbishop Alter took down Carroll in 4 sets, and Archbishop Alter has been having, I mean, really just a spectacular end to the season. They got wins over Carroll, Chaminade, Baden, and obviously they have some losses in there like to Moeller, but when you're out of division playing against a top team in Division One, you're taking what you can get. I mean, those are three solid wins over Baden, Chaminade, and Carroll that are in conference and really just tangible. And they're going into the tournament looking good, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, again, like kind of what we alluded to before with Chaminade, they're kind of peaking now, or they're on the rise now, and this is the perfect time to be on the rise. And not only have they been on a winning streak, they've won against some good teams. Like Carroll has played very well this year. Baden's very good. Chaminade is also on the rise, and like just with this game in particular, I mean, it seemed like Alter was in control of the entire game except for that third
Yeah.
set where Carroll took it in extra points. But I mean, this is still, I mean, for Carroll, this is really a time to kind of just move on and like kind of learn from what happened, and then hopefully they can fix up their mistakes during the tournament. Then for Alter, do the opposite, just kind of keep doing what they're doing until for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, definitely just got to lock in there if you're Carroll because they've had a rough end of the season. Two loss to Baden, one loss to Alter. But they got a win over McNick in there, so they're kind of having a wonky end of the season. But Alter on a good path. Carroll kind of needs to change what they're doing maybe a little bit, especially considering the path they have in front of them if they would like to find their way to the regional final or out of the region. But the last game that really jumped out to us was Moeller McNick. McNick been having a so-so end of the season. Like I said, a loss in there to Carroll, not great for the standard that they hold themselves to, but took it to 5 against Moeller. I did not think that this one was going to go as long as it did.
Yeah, I mean, I was not expecting a 5 set thriller like this, but McNick, I mean, we've said it all season, like even though their record might not show, like they can hang with anyone. And this is perfect example right here. Moeller, one of the 1 seeds in the tournament, uh taking Moeller to 5. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this was at Moeller too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so playing at Moeller and taking them to 5, that's like, I mean, obviously not coming out with the win might be a little disappointing, but looking at these sets, they were all very close. I mean, Moeller took the first one 27-25, then McNick 25-21, then McNick 26-24, then Moeller 25-18, and then the fifth set was 15-13. So besides that fourth set, all the sets were very close, and McNick was pretty evenly matched with them throughout the whole game.
yeah. I mean, it's really off the back of Aiden Williams has been having a great season. No surprise after what we've seen from him last year and throughout the course of this year. He had 17 kills and 6 blocks to go along with it. I mean, he's just putting up ridiculous numbers all season long. But it feels like the McNick team is kind of fully gelling, and I think that they could be a threat to a lot of people in the tournament, which is no surprise. They're kind of off the back of teams that know what it's like to be there, and after a performance like this against Moeller, it's like you said earlier, one of those ones where you don't, it's a loss on paper, but there's definitely more good than bad from this loss. You prove that you can compete with a one seed in D1, which, I mean, even last year, I remember when McNick played St. X, that game, not particularly close, and McNick was far more dominant than they are now. So, kind of just an encouraging sign for them heading into the playoffs, I feel like. But speaking of playoffs, we got all the brackets out now. We're going to go through region by region, talk about maybe what jumps out to us, who we think is going to be in the regional final, who's going to make it out of the region. Let's start with Region 1, which isn't exactly the most competitive region. Berlin's coming in as your one seed. Nick, what are you seeing from this region?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this region isn't too tough, not really jam packed with some good matches. I think Berlin isn't going to have much trouble uh, getting through to the regional final, and then just kind of looking at some of the other matchups. New Albany is the two seed. I think I think they'll make their way pretty easily to the regional final too. So I think the final is going to be Berlin and New Albany. And in my opinion, I think Berlin is going to win that, but New Albany just took um, who was it?
Davidson.
Davidson to five, and they proved that they can really hang with teams like Davidson and Berlin. Maybe a little better than Davidson, but I think they'll be able to hang. But ultimately, I think Berlin is going to come out of this region on top.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you the entire way through. Like you said, it does seem like it's going to be Berlin the entire way through. I do think that it's going to be Berlin, New Albany in the regional final. Berlin just feels like they have slight more pedigree. They had a better start to the season than they did in end, but they've beat those New Albany level teams. They might not be able to get over that hump and really crack into a nice win over someone like Thomas Worthington, but earlier in the season they took it to five against Jerome, who's a great team, and I think that they're just gonna find their way through what is probably not the hardest bracket. Um, and I think they'll do it with ease. But moving on to Region 2, the top of this region is a little one-sided, but you get down to the bottom and it's a little more fun. Nick, what are you seeing from Region 2?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the top side of the bracket is Ignatius, defending state champions, and kind of looking at the other teams that they would have to face before the regional final. It seems like Ignatius might steamroll through that. And then looking at the bottom of the bracket, we've got some good teams like St. Ed's. What else we got? We got Hudson down there. Just some teams that could really make some noise and that could give Ignatius a run for their money. But I do think no matter who comes out of the bottom of the bracket, I think Ignatius is gonna beat them pretty handily.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously on the top side, Ignatius is going to find their way to the final. I think that Jackson, despite coming in as the three seed, will meet them there. And I think that that might not be the closest matchup ever. I think Ignatius is, I don't know about dog walk, but kind of hold it down and find their way back to another Final Four. Region 3, this is where the stuff gets competitive. This is the Thomas Worthington area one. Thomas Worthington is that one seed. Nick, who do you like in the regional final here?
Yeah, Thomas Worthington, they've been dominant all season. They've been number one in our rankings for a couple weeks. Just throughout the season, they've been on top. Got other teams like Hilliard Darby, another great team who's been up there. Beaver Creek, who we were talking about before,
Mhm.
they got the five seed after a sweep against Centerville. Dublin Jerome is also in this region, who has a split series with Thomas Worthington right now. And then we got Centerville down there, and then Hilliard Davidson. So really, in my opinion, I think this region is definitely the most stacked. Definitely some star power here. I think I like Worthington making it to the regional final, and I think Darby could really make it there. I think Jerome definitely has a chance. Um, I think Davidson could have a chance, but I don't know if they'll get past Jerome. But if I had to pick, I think I would go Worthington and Jerome, and then that game is really a toss up. I think either one of those could win the region.
Yeah, I agree with who we see in the final, and definitely that it could be a toss-up. I think that there's going to be some exciting results. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see Beaver Creek make it a little further than we had expected, but Worthington and Jerome both been on their own individual tears, and like you said, a split series between them kind of makes it seem like a toss-up. But it just felt like Worthington, they feel a little more in control at times than Jerome does, and they have that pedigree. So I think that Worthington will be the third number one seed in the Final Four, going to the Cincinnati region in Region Four. I think this is where it really changes up for me. Nick, I don't know about you, but uh, I'm gonna have Moeller and St. X in the finals. That Moeller side, they've got Elder in there. It could get a little more dicey than some expect, especially in that matchup. But I think the home crowd advantage for Moeller is really going to give it to them. And I think that Moeller Sanex, that one, always a good matchup. But I think that teams coached by Bill Ferris find a way to turn it up into the playoffs. And I think that X is going to be the only seed that's not one finding their way into the Final Four. But I wouldn't be shocked if Moeller or Elder also found their way there. It's just I feel like it's going to be one of those GCL teams as it normally is.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the regional final for Region Four is usually composed of two GCL teams, and I think for the second year in a row, Saint X got lucky not having to face a GCL
Yeah.
opponent before the regional final. Uh, Unlike Moeller and Elder, who will have to face each other if they get there in the regional semifinals. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be one of those teams. I do agree with you. I will give slight edge to Moeller. I just think the home court advantage is really going to be their advantage. And then Saint X, I think they're going to get through theirs. They've got a couple good teams to look out for. They've got Mason, Walnut Hills, Lakota East to look out for.
Yeah.
But overall, I think Saint X is going to make it to the regional final, and then I feel like I have to pick Saint X over Moeller because for obvious reasons. So I think Saint X is going to make it the third year in a row that they're going to be in the state final for.
Yeah, I think I'm just going with X here because I remember last year that Elder X matchup at Mason, hyped up, really thought, I feel like us coming into it, I thought that Elder might do it. Really thought that at least it was going to go to five, but after that one set that they dropped to Elder, they just kind of walked all over them. And there's just a certain level of elevation that those teams hit in the playoffs. But either way, I think it's a GCL team coming out of Cincinnati. But moving down to D2, Region 5. This one is maybe not the hardest region ever, but it does have some pretty good teams, DeSales, Carroll, St. Charles, and I think that regional final is going to feature those two that I mentioned last, DeSales versus St. Charles. I think that Carroll and their rough end of the season, I think it's going to continue. Um, I think that they'll probably find their way to a game against DeSales and lose there, but that home court thing could switch it up a little more than I expect. But I think that no matter who Charles sees in the final, they're going to walk right into that Final Four spot as the one seed. And they have had a good end to the season, and I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think teams like DeSales and maybe even Carroll could give St. Charles a run for their money, but I think Charles is just better than those teams, and I think
Yeah.
they'll make it pretty easily to the Final Four.
And down into the next region in D2, D6. Definitely not our toughest bracket, but I think it could have some interesting results. You've got Springfield in as the one seed, and they see some time in our rankings. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to hold up against the three seed, St. Vincent St. Mary. Firestone also the 2 seed down in the lower part of the bracket. I think that Springfield will find their way to the regional final, I think St. Vincent St. Mary will have themselves a good playoff run, find themselves into the regional final as well, and then beat Springfield to get back to the final four. But I wouldn't be shocked if Firestone got to the regional final either. I just think that that lower side of the bracket, Firestone or St. Vincent St. Mary, is going to advance to the final four.
Yeah, I mean, I think those three teams are definitely in the running to get that to win that region. Just the thing that I have with Springfield and Firestone, like, yeah, they played very well so far, as we see here, 1 and 2 seed. But I feel like they don't really have that big statement win to kind of put them above everyone else in the region. And I think St. Vincent St. Mary, like they just their schedule is just a lot tougher than those of Springfield and Firestone. So I think that's going to carry them through. Yes, I think St. Vincent St. Mary will probably come out of this region. If they don't, I think it'll be Springfield.
Yeah, I agree. St. Vincent St. Mary just has a way tougher schedule, and that kind of hurts their seeding a little bit. But Region 7, this one, not much to talk about. I honestly don't even think this is a two-horse race, really. Independence has had a great season so far. They deserve the 1 seed they got, and they don't face the greatest competition. I think that Berkshire, the 3 seed, will find their way to the final, but I think Independence is going to the final four.
Yeah, I completely agree. Independence again has been on our rankings a couple times this season. I think they've just had a better season than everyone on in this region, and I think they'll make it with ease.
Region 8, the Cincinnati region, might be the most stacked region in both divisions. We're seeing McNick, Chaminade, Loveland, Fenwick, plenty of other teams that could really get it done. But I think it would be remiss of me to not go with the 1 and 2 seeds of Loveland and Fenwick. Loveland lost to Milford last week, but I mean, in their division, they are on a tear. And Fenwick, in the same vein, didn't lose a single GCL co-ed team match, excuse me. And despite the other good teams like LaSalle, Bate, and Alter, I think they're continuing their dominance and they're going to find their way. Loveland, Fenwick, and Loveland, I think, is going to advance to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think Loveland will definitely get to the regional final, but I wouldn't sleep on any of these teams. Like you said, like this region is stacked. Like Fenwick has had a great season. Baden, even though they've lost a couple games that maybe they should have won, they've still showed that they can hang with anybody. Alter just had that big win against Carroll. I think ultimately it is going to be Loveland versus Fenwick in that regional final, and uh, I really think that one could be a toss up, but I think Loveland's just been so dominant all
Yeah.
season that I think they're gonna pull it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's all we had for today's episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you later.